The moment it happened, the room exploded with urgency. Machines began screaming with alarms, nurses rushed toward the hospital bed, and a doctor shouted commands that echoed through the emergency ward. A man lay completely still beneath the bright surgical lights. His chest wasn't moving. His pulse had disappeared. Someone called out the time, while another voice said the words no one ever wants to hear. "We've lost him." For a moment, the room felt frozen between hope and finality. But while the doctors fought desperately to bring his body back to life, something unimaginable was happening beyond that hospital room. Because during the minutes when his heart had stopped, he says he was somewhere else, somewhere more real than the world he had just left behind. And the being he encountered there would reveal a hidden truth about humanity that changed his life forever. For the sake of privacy, we will call this man Daniel. Before that day, Daniel was living what most people would consider a normal life. He worked hard, cared about his family, and tried to stay ahead in a world that always seemed to demand more time, more energy, and more attention. Like many people, he believed in God in a distant way, but faith was not something that shaped his daily decisions. Life was about responsibilities, deadlines, and the constant race to keep everything together. Daniel never imagined that a sudden medical emergency would force him to confront something far beyond anything he had ever believed possible. It began with a sharp pain in his chest while he was at home one evening. At first, he thought it was stress or fatigue, but the pain quickly grew stronger. His breathing became shallow, his vision blurred, and a cold wave of dizziness washed over him. Within seconds, he felt his legs give way beneath him. The next thing he remembered was darkness. But according to doctors, his heart had stopped beating. This story is based on a real testimony, but identities have been protected using AI. Daniel says that instead of fading into nothingness, he suddenly became aware of something unexpected. He felt awake. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in the same room where his body had collapsed. Family members were panicking, calling emergency services, and trying to help him. Yet something felt strange. He could see everything clearly, but no one seemed to notice him. Then he looked down and saw something that shocked him deeply. His own body lying on the floor. People were rushing around it, trying desperately to revive him, but Daniel felt strangely calm, almost detached from the scene unfolding before him. Within moments, the room began fading. The walls dissolved into darkness, the voices disappeared, and a deep silence surrounded him. Then he felt himself moving. It was not like walking, it felt more like being gently drawn forward through a vast space. At first, everything was dark, but far ahead he noticed a faint glow, a small light. As he moved closer, the light grew brighter and warmer until it filled the entire space around him. Daniel later said that the light did not feel like ordinary light. It felt alive, filled with a presence that radiated peace and understanding. When the tunnel ended, he found himself standing in a place so beautiful he struggled to describe it. The atmosphere was filled with calm and warmth, unlike anything he had experienced on Earth. There was no fear, no confusion, no pain, only peace. But then Daniel realized he was not alone. In the distance, he could see figures that seemed to glow softly. They stood quietly as if observing him with deep understanding. Then one presence stepped forward. The moment Daniel noticed it, he felt an overwhelming wave of emotion. The being radiated light brighter than anything around it, yet the light felt gentle and welcoming rather than overwhelming. He said that in that moment, he felt completely known. Every memory, every thought, every hidden part of his life felt exposed before this presence, and yet there was no judgment, only profound compassion. Before Daniel could ask where he was, something incredible happened. Scenes from his life began unfolding around him as though he were watching a living story. Moments from childhood appeared first, then teenage years, then adulthood. Every action he had taken seemed to appear before him. But this was not simply watching memories. He felt them. When he saw moments where he had spoken harsh words to someone, he felt the pain those words caused. When he saw moments of kindness, he felt the warmth those actions created. It was overwhelming. Daniel realized that every choice in life carried consequences far deeper than he had ever understood. Then the being spoke. The voice did not come through the air, but directly into his mind. You are seeing the truth of your life. Daniel felt both humbled and deeply moved by the experience. But then something changed. The scenes around him began expanding outward until they no longer showed only his life. Instead, he began seeing humanity itself. He saw cities across the world filled with people rushing through their lives, people chasing success, status, and possessions, people arguing, competing, and struggling. He saw moments of beauty and kindness, but he also saw moments of division, hatred, and indifference. Then the being spoke again. What you see is humanity searching for meaning in places where it cannot be found. Daniel watched as scenes unfolded across different nations, cultures, and communities. He saw people working tirelessly to gain wealth but feeling empty inside. He saw others chasing fame or power but remaining restless and dissatisfied. Then the being revealed something that struck Daniel deeply. Human beings, the being explained, were created with a deep spiritual longing, a desire for connection, love, and purpose. But many had forgotten this. Instead of seeking meaning within compassion, truth, and spiritual growth, people had begun chasing distractions that could never truly satisfy the human heart. Daniel realized the hidden truth being shown to him. Humanity was not lost because of a lack of intelligence or progress. Humanity was lost because many had forgotten their true purpose. The being continued speaking with a message filled with both warning and hope. Your world is advancing in knowledge, but drifting from wisdom. Daniel saw visions of technological progress, expanding cities, and powerful systems shaping modern life. Yet beneath all of it, he sensed a growing emptiness in many human hearts. The being explained that humanity had been given extraordinary potential, the ability to love, the ability to forgive, the ability to care for one another. But these gifts were often ignored in the pursuit of temporary achievements. Then the being said something Daniel would never forget. The greatest tragedy of humanity is not suffering, it is forgetting who you were created to be. In that moment, Daniel felt a deep sense of urgency. He understood that the hidden truth being revealed to him was not meant only for him. It was a message for anyone willing to listen. Human life is far more meaningful than the race for success, approval, or material gain. The things that truly shape the world are often the smallest acts of kindness, compassion, and humility. Then the being spoke once more. You must return. Daniel felt both surprise and reluctance. The peace of that place was overwhelming. He did not want to leave. That the being explained that his time there was not finished. There are others who need to hear what you have seen. Suddenly, the light around him began fading. The peaceful world disappeared, and darkness returned. Daniel felt himself moving rapidly backward through the tunnel. Then pain struck his chest like a shockwave. Air rushed violently into his lungs as his body jerked awake. He opened his eyes to bright hospital lights and the sound of machines beeping rapidly. Doctors were shouting with relief. His heart had started beating again. Later, he learned that he had been clinically dead for many minutes. For the medical team, it was a successful resuscitation. For Daniel, it was the beginning of a completely different life, because the message he received during that experience stayed with him every day afterward. The hidden truth about humanity was not complicated. People are searching desperately for meaning, yet often looking in the wrong places. True fulfillment comes from love, compassion, humility, and connection with others. Now, let me ask you something. If humanity truly remembered its deeper purpose, how different would the world look today? Would we still chase the same goals, hold on to the same grudges, and divide ourselves in the same ways? Or would we begin to treat one another with greater kindness and understanding? If this story made you reflect on your own life, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe experiences like this reveal something real about what lies beyond death? And if this testimony moved you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need encouragement today, and subscribe for more powerful near-death experience stories. Because sometimes the people who briefly cross the boundary between life and eternity return with messages humanity was never meant to ignore.